Do you need a proper sat nav for your motorhome or camper van? We'll find out. Hi, I'm Kat and welcome to Wandering Bird, where we share tips and tricks to help you make the most of your motorhome and camper van. And today we are talking all about sat navs. Most specifically, we are talking about this sat nav, which we were kindly sent by TomTom, and it is the TomTom Camper Go Max. And they said, we're going to send you one of these and we'd like you to review it. And I said, okay, you can send me one, but I'm going to use it for a couple of months and see if it's actually worth reviewing. So that is what we have done. We have now used this. Well, we've been all over the place. We've been all around the UK. We're currently in Wales, and we've also been to Germany, a little bit of Switzerland, and all around France as well. So I think it's fair to say we've given this a really, really good test. We've done, I don't know how many thousand miles, but let's say a couple of thousand miles. And this thing, so far, touch wood, has been freaking brilliant, which is why I am making this video for you. So I wanted to share a little bit about how it all works, what's in the box, which I know lots of people like to see, and then also some of the pros and the things that we're not so keen on, because let's face it, nothing is perfect and some of it is personal preference. So let's dive in and tell you what we think about this unit. So this is the TomTom Go Camper Max. Inside the box you get a quick start guide. And that is the size of the, to give you an idea, that's the size of my hand. I'm going to do this whilst not nudging the video camera. Wow, that's way thinner than I was expecting it to be. Look how thin that is. There we go. So that's the unit. And then also in the box you get a sticker on the window screener or on your dashboard. So that can go on your dashboard, or you can mount it on your window, on your windscreen. And then in here you've got lead, and then what drop, oh, 12-volt charger. It goes in a cigarette lighter. There's a power button on the back here. There we go. And it's got, oh, it's on. Ooh. You can see me staring in my phone. Let me try and move my face out of the way. Here we go. It's doing something. I'm not sure I'm fluent enough in Afrikaans to do that. So oh, you've got lots of different English. Let's go for English United Kingdom. That's us. And then country UK. We are a camper. We need to do the vehicle and dimension. So it's a camper now. How? So you've got your length, your width, and your height. We're going to always make yourself slightly bigger than you are in these things. So we're going to do 6.8. I think we're about 6.7. Our width, I think we're 2.2, so I'll leave it at 2.5. And our height in meters, we are with 2.9, so I'm going to go for 3 meters. And then our weight is 3.5 tons. Axle on the tons. Our max speed is not 60. Our max speed is, this is miles per hour, so we can go with 70. Done. So there we go. Welcome to your TomTom Go Camper Max. So first thing is that it is the 7-inch screen version. Now, Mr. WB is blind in his left eye, so most sat navs, certainly the smaller sat navs, he really struggles with, because when he tries to turn his head to sort of look on that side, he finds them quite difficult to see when they're smaller. That's one of the reasons that we went with the iPad version, and we had an app, and the name now escapes me, and I will put the name of it in here. But for years we used the app, not necessarily because the app was good, it actually went downhill quite rapidly, but because the size of the screen made it so much easier for him to see whilst he was driving. However, this he really likes. Now I should say, probably should say this later in the video, but I'm going to start off with it, why not? He really didn't want to test this thing out. We used TomToms a long time ago, and he was a bit meh, really. I'll be honest, he is a complete convert, like totally converted. He loves the screen. He loves how easy it is to see it whilst he's driving. This is what it looks like. Now, obviously, there's no blue line on there. I've not set a route up at the moment. But just at a glance, and he can see where we're at, what the next turning is. I'll set up a little route in a minute so you can see what it looks like whilst it is going. So the size of the screen, the 7-inch screen on this is really good. The other thing we like is how quick and responsive it is. TomTom have apparently updated that from previous versions. It's now 4 times faster than previous versions. And it really, really is. You can sort of zoom in and out using your fingers, and you can, all the different functions and stuff that it does. It's really quick to react, which is great when you're trying to do something and you're coming up to a junction and you're not entirely sure which way you're going. So that's really useful if you're driving. By the way, don't do that. I was talking about myself as a navigator, just to be clear. So the next thing that we really, really like about this is the POIs, the points of interest, that come preloaded into the TomTom. Now there are loads and loads of different things that you can see in there. So you've got your basic stuff like your fuel stations and castles and things that you might want to visit. But you've also got in there, you've got different types of campsites. ACSI sites are in here, you know that we're big fans of them. Smaller local campsites. There are all sorts of things in here that when you're planning a route, and you can see where you're going, you can see things that are nearby that you might want to detour to. And you can also, one thing I really, really like is you can actually plan your route and your map offline on your computer, and then using the software you can actually upload it onto the TomTom Camper Max, which is really, really useful. And you can then get your route already preloaded, but with all the detours and things that you want to see along the way. So I really like the POIs that are in here. Now, whilst we're talking about fuel stations, one of the things that is an optional paid extra on this, although you do get a year's free of it when you purchase the unit, are the fuel prices. Now, this is fascinating. So you can see along your route where the cheapest fuel stations are, and that comes in with live data. Now, you do have to connect the TomTom up to something to get that data. So for example, to your smartphone. That then will use a smartphone to keep it updated. So it uses its software then to check all the different fuel prices. And if you do a route like from here, we are near Chirk. If we were doing a route, we're going somewhere near Birmingham next. It will tell us the cheapest fuel stops along that route, which is really, really cool because we all know the price of fuel is going up and up and up. And that, I reckon, you could easily get back certainly the price of a year's subscription for that service, but also possibly over time you might even be able to claw back the cost of the unit itself, just in the savings that it can make you by finding the cheaper fuel stations. So that's definitely worthwhile. Another premium live service which you can get as an optional add-on is the speed cameras, and that is for fixed speed cameras, obviously not the mobile ones, no, not that clever. But if you want to know where the speed cameras are, not that you should be speeding in any way, shape or form, but it is something that is available to you if you want to purchase that. I will just point out here that in a lot of countries in Europe, that is an illegal thing to have on your sat nav. So you may not want to have it, but the option is there if you wish to purchase it. Another thing that I love, possibly it's one of my favourite features actually about this sat nav, is the scenic routing. Now, if you follow us for a while, you'll know that we prefer mountains to cities always, and we go up some crazy roads. I like to think of that as a skill as a navigator. Not sure my husband agrees with me, but we tend to take the scenic route pretty much anywhere. Normally, when you are on a sat nav, especially if you're using a sat nav for motorhomes, you've got your dimensions in, and it will take you the easiest and most direct route, which generally involves motorways or in your toll roads. In here, you've got a function called scenic routing, and that means that you can plot a route between 2 points, like through the Alps, and take the scenic route, which I love because it will show you the scenic routes over the top of mountain paths or whatever, but that are appropriate for vehicles of your size. So you're not going to end up on roads that are beautiful and very scenic, but that just aren't suitable to be driven by vehicles. Now, at the moment, we've got our motorhome 6.7 meters. I don't know why I'm looking around. I know how long our motorhome is, but our motorhome 6.7 meters, and actually we've got the big trailer with us at the moment. So we've got the car and both motorbikes, and the trailer's nearly 4 meters. So if we were going, in Wales, there were no massive, although there are a couple of decent passes to be fair, through the Snowdonia National Park. But if we were going, say, if we were in the Alps with this setup, some of the roads, the hairpins are that tight that we've done it a couple of times with a smaller trailer, and we've said, oh, we're very grateful we haven't got the big trailer on there. because we just wouldn't get the turning circle. So hopefully if you increase the length of your vehicle to incorporate any trailer or car that you might be towing, then the scenic routing will be really, really useful for you to have an amazing trip and not get yourself stuck on a mountain pass somewhere. So I love that. We use that an awful lot in Germany and in France, actually. I haven't tried it in Wales yet because of the places that we've been going. We've been mainly racing and going to circuits, and they are designed for enormous vehicles to turn up with all the cars and stuff. But next time we go somewhere that is a little bit more windy, I will try it with this and see how it is in the UK too. Another thing that I really like about this is the traffic update. Now, TomTom traffic is actually pretty good, and this exactly the same level of service on this. You need to connect your smartphone, and it has got to be a smartphone that's got data. So in the UK, for most people who've got UK SIM contracts, that will be absolutely fine. You can connect that, you can get all your live traffic updates, and it will give you various options for avoiding traffic jams or tell you how long the delay might be if you choose to sit in them. Or you can use the scenic routing and go round it. Don't forget in Europe that if you have got this connected to your smartphone and using your data, that most contracts now, certainly most networks now, have got some sort of data cap after Brexit, and that this will of course use it up. Now, it doesn't use a huge amount, but it will use a bit, and obviously that will depend how long you're in Europe for, how much driving you do, and how much data that will use up. But definitely something to be mindful of, that this is using your phone data as well as you using your phone data. That will disappear quite quickly, and the charges for going over that once you've reached your data cap and then opted in to spend more, they can get quite expensive. So just bear that in mind if you are going to be connecting your smartphone to data when you are in Europe. Now, one thing we don't use at all on a sat nav is the voice. We hate it. We much rather look at it and be like, yeah, okay, this is where we're going, rather than a voice going, turn left now, turn left into it. Yeah, it drives me nuts. But the speaker on this is very powerful. Apparently it's very easy to hear over the noise of the vehicle, because we all know that motorhomes are noisier than a car, and you're going to have various options. One thing that I really like actually is you can set the language. So if you wanted to learn a little bit of your local language or just make yourself laugh as you're going along, you could actually set it to like German when you were in Germany, and you could listen to the instructions in German and see if you can understand what the heck's going. But luckily the screen's big enough for you to follow along too. So we've done a couple of updates on this TomTom, and we've updated for the UK, for Germany, for Switzerland and for France. It has a huge long list of all the countries that it covers, and obviously you only need to update the ones that you're going to be using it for. I believe you get lifetime updates for free as part of the purchase, which is really good, because obviously roads are being built all the time and things are changing, so it's nice that you can get that. You don't have to pay some sort of subscription to do that. So let's talk about the pros and the cons. Now, I have to be honest, I've mentioned quite a few of these already, so let me give you a really brief recap of the things that we like and don't like. Love the size of the screen, love how clear it is, love how fast it is, and the routing as you are driving along I think is very clear. My husband initially, because it was slightly different to the iPad that we're used to, he had a, is it now the turning? And no, actually it's got a little countdown to the turner, but that is fairly standard on most sat navs. It's just different to what we have been used to. But now we're used to it, it's really, really straightforward. And again, I love the fact that there's not a lot of clutter. It does have on here things like you can do 3D buildings and stuff. I personally don't like that, because again, I think it adds to the clutter on the screen. But if you like that and you want to be able to see, oh yes, I'm next to this enormous skyscraper as I'm driving my motorhome through London, then you can put that on there, and absolutely you can have it all in 3D. A couple of other things that we love. I love the routing options. I love being able to find things like fuel stations really quickly. I love being able to put in different points. So when we did a trip around Germany, we put in several points for the day, and it did all that routing really nicely. Now, there were a couple of settings we needed to change on that. So initially it drove me nuts that you could only see your final destination. So it didn't actually tell you like how far to your next point and stuff. But that was down to a setting that we had wrong. So if you go into your settings, you can change all of that stuff. It's also really easy to change between kilometers and miles. If you are traveling a lot between the UK and Europe, that's useful to be able to change it. And you can see then speeds in kilometers rather than miles and stuff, which just makes life a little bit easier when you're driving on the continent. Someone at some point is going to tell me that the UK is in Europe as well, but you know what I mean. Every video somebody says it. I like the fact that you can add in popular places. Top tip, as always with all sat navs, don't mark your home as your home. Mark it down the street, or mark it somewhere nearby, purely because if this does get nicked, you don't want people to know where your home is, and it will say it in your sat nav. So yeah, don't do that. But you can store popular places that you go to all the time. If you have a favourite campsite or family or whatever, then you can store these in there. Again, maybe don't store your family's addresses in there either, but somewhere nearby. You can use voice control on this as well, and we never have, I'll admit. You can. So as I said earlier, nothing is perfect. So let's talk about a couple of the things that I'm not so keen on. Firstly, and I know this is going to sound really stupid, but battery life. You cannot see the battery level unless you press. So you can see the little menu button on there, and you can see the battery level on there absolutely fine. But when it's plugged in and charging, that battery level disappears. Now, this might be a personal hang-up of mine because we've used a very old iPad for a sat nav for that long now, and the thing just dies. It's like, oh, battery half, battery dead. So I'm always looking for the battery level. So this might just be my own little hang up. But yeah, that really annoys me that you can't do that. Another thing, which was initially annoying, and I'll be honest, we've now moved where we put that. So we put this at the same place that we used to put our iPad. So on the little lift uppy bit. And the problem with that is that because the charger's on the back, so the charger bit's right underneath here, it was really, really awkward. Now, I know a lot of motorhomes have got that lift up bit and a lot of people use it for their sat navs. I was like, well, why not just put it on the side like most people? And I get why they've done it. And now that we use the bit that sticks onto the windscreen, it's way easier. And that makes a lot of sense. One thing I will say about that is just remember when you attach it to your windscreen that in a lot of countries around Europe, it's illegal to have anything that blocks the driver's view. So you do have to be careful where you position it, but we've now got it on the windscreen and it's fine. And it now charges without any issue at all. So we have resolved that issue, but that initially was a bit of a pain. And then the last thing, which is a small niggle, is the fact that you cannot set different speed limits depending on the size of your motorhome, your camper van. Now we're under 3.5 tons, which means that normally most of the speed limits around Europe are exactly the same as they would be for a car, so this is fine. But when we're towing, or if you are over 3.5 tons, a lot of the time you have to have a lower speed limit. So it would be really useful if you could say, right, I'm over 3.5 tons, or right, I'm towing, and it would know that you have a different speed limit, so you can look at that and it will then tell you if you are near that. So that's just something that I don't think I know of any sat nav that does that, but that would be amazing, given that this thing is created for motorhomes and camper vans. If they could find a way of doing that, so you could just press a little button and it would change all the speed limits based on the road that you're on and what the speed limit is for larger or vehicles that are towing. And I guess for caravans as well, that would be useful for caravans, because again, you often have to obey a lower speed limit if you're towing a caravan. So those are the things that we do not like. Like I say, there's not many. Most of them are niggles, because I am really quite fond of this unit, as is Mr. WB, which is why we are continuing to use it. I always say that the best test of a review is, are we still using it a couple of months later? And the answer is, yeah, we really are. And I'm sure you'll see it pop up in all sorts of our future videos. But I hope that is a little insight onto how it works and how we've been using it, so that if you do want to get one for yourself, it's a little bit easier to follow along and how we've done it all. But if you are looking for a sat nav for your motorhome or camper van, highly, highly recommend getting one of these. So thank you very much to TomTom for sending one through to us. We hope you found that little review useful. If you are new to the channel and you're not already a subscriber, you'd like to get more motorhoming tips, then by all means hit subscribe. Thank you for your time, and we'll see you on the next video. Bye.